Hello everybody and welcome to Lindsay's Little Library. I just finished up with a really great book that I read this month, and it focused around World War II, and I realized that I've read a lot of books that are World War II based, or the subject of World War II. I do love historical fiction, and that happens to be a time period that fascinates me for a number of reasons that we don't need to go into today, but I really do like it. So I thought I would put together the books that I have read that I've truly enjoyed that are based around World War II and the various viewpoints that they're talked about, as well as a few books that I own that I haven't read yet that are that center around World War II. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the books that I have already read. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 8 or 9 of them. Again, I told you I've read a lot of them. So first one up. It's a pretty short one, actually. I think I finished this in like a day. It's called The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by Bowen. Really great book from the viewpoint of a child during World War II. His father is the head or runs a concentration camp. And of course, the boy doesn't completely understand what's going on. And he knows that he is in this grand house and there's this camp next to him, and there is a fence, and as he's kind of exploring along the fence, he meets another little boy in striped pajamas and they become friends. Good book. We can all admit now we know it's going to be a sad book, but very good, quick, easy read. I'd highly recommend it. The next book I have is Secrets of a Charmed Life by Suzanne Meisner. This book is about two sisters that are surviving in London during the Blitz, so 1940s in England, when Germany is continuously bombing London. Normally children were sent away to the country to live, potentially with strangers. We all know that from the Narnia books. Which technically, is that World War II? Because if it is, then I could add that to it as well, because that's why they were sent away, I believe. Let me know if I'm wrong. But they were sent away. The one sister didn't want to go. She ended up going back to London the night of the Blitz, basically. And it talks about trying to reconnect again and find each other again. Really good book. I wasn't expecting. I don't know why, but it was kind of not a very popular book. And I happened to have come across it. I want to say on Book Outlet. Is there a dot? Oh, maybe not. I don't know where I got it from, but highly recommend this. I've had a few of my friends read it and agree. Very good book, set from the perspective of being in London during the war. The next one I'm sure a number of people have read, The Book Thief. Oh, love this book for so many reasons. By Marcus Zusak. Told from the perspective of death, which is just genius. I mean, so interesting. But this is a little girl, Wiesel, and she lives in Germany, and they hide a Jewish man in their basement. So, again, during the war. It might even be pre-war. But, anyways, delicious book. Amazing book. Wow, pick it up. The next one is going to be All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Yep, that works for me. This one is set in France, so you have the perspective of people in France who, I believe, it's a little girl, she's with her father, and they live in a museum, and then also also centers around a little boy named Werner, who's German, and how their paths kind of come to be. Again, set in Paris during the war. I wasn't super impressed by this. I found my mind wandering a lot of times. I wasn't wowed by it, even though it's won all these prizes and supposed to be this wonderful book. It fell short for me, but that's okay. I'm so glad I read it. Just another perspective during the war. That was very interesting. I liked it. The next one, again set during France during the war. If you pick up any of these books, this one and another one are probably my top 2 of all time. The Nightingale is definitely on my top 10 list of all time favorite books. This is a story about 2 sisters, again during the war, kind of pre-war. They both live in France, and then Germany invades, and the one sister stays home. She's more of the motherly type, and then the other sister, who's a little bit more wild, goes off to fight the war in a different way. Shows both of their stories. They both make very hard decisions. It had me, the amount of emotions that I went through reading this book, which if an author can do that, wow, you've got my vote. But it was amazing. So it's called The Nightingale, Kristen Hanna, awesome book. Kristen Hanna is not a stranger to World War II books. She also wrote a book called Winter Garden, which I don't know what happened to my copy, so if any of my friends are watching this and you have it, love it if I get it back. But the Winter Garden is set from the Russian perspective, so it's about, again, two sisters whose father, I believe, passes away, and I don't think that that's a shocker. And they're not very close with their mother, who immigrated to the United States from Russia. And basically their father says, you need to learn about her life and where she came from, and oh my goodness, did they ever learn what she went through from that perspective. So again, Kristen Hanna knows how to write an awesome book that gets you at the heartstrings, that just shows you that side or that part of history just in such a different way. It's awesome. Highly suggest both of them. The next book is one I literally finished last night. It's called The Women in the Castle. This gives you a perspective of the war post-war. So how Germany was after World War II. It does go back and forth in time a little bit, so you do get a taste of what happened during the war and even a little bit pre-war, but it centers around a woman, Marianne, whose husband was part of a group of men who tried to overthrow Hitler. Tried to assassinate him, I believe. And her job basically post-war was to get all of the women, all of the wives and the children together to help kind of survive that post-war time, which, you know, a lot of people think war is won, trouble is over, but no, there's a lot of stuff they had to deal with afterwards in order to survive. So The Women in the Castle, fantastic book. It's by Jessica Shattuck. Highly recommend it. It's really great. It's actually our book club book pick for this month, so I can't wait to get together with some people to discuss it. So pick that one up. And the last one, again, one of my absolute favorite, well, she's my favorite author, I'm sure you guys know that, but top 10 books of all time. Please, if you walk away from this video with wanting to read one or two books, this should be one of them. Jodi Picoult's The Storyteller. Fantastic. This is set in present day, right? And centers around a man, I think his name's Joseph, who, like, everybody loves. I think he works at the high school, and he's like this fantastic man, and he's awesome. And he meets Sage, and she's a baker, and he goes to Sage and says, I need you to do something for me. I need you to kill me, because I was a Nazi, and I ran a concentration camp. Boom, right? So good. Really great perspective of understanding why these people did what they did, and how, and this is why I'm fascinated, how did Hitler convince people of these things and get them to do these horrible things? And it's through reading these books I've learned a lot about that, because man, if just wow, that ability to do that. And you learn a little bit about that here, and kind of what then happened after the war, and how all these men kind of felt. And yeah, there's some bad ones. There definitely were some bad ones, but there were some ones that were kind of, I don't know. I'll let you decide. Read the book. Let me know. So those are all the ones that I've read so far that I can think of and find today. I do have a few, because again, historical fiction, love it. Obviously love the subject. I've got a few on my list on my TBR that I want to read as well. First one is Salt of the Sea by Rudess. Oh, I'm horrible at authors' names. This is told from the perspective of the ship called the Wilhelm Gustloff. The ship sinks, and I don't think that that's any news. But it talks about 4 teenagers aboarding the ship. The ship was getting people out of, basically away from the war, right? And it sinks, and talks about that. That's about all I know. I've heard really great things about it, though. Can't wait to get to that one. Next one, it's on my list just because the subject fits, but totally not historic fiction. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Graudin. This is set in the perspective as if Hitler won, as if the Third Reich took over, as if the Japanese now rule. And it's about, I believe, a race. There's a motorcycle race, and whoever wins has the chance to meet Hitler, so therefore they're trying to get somebody in there that can kill Hitler. So heard great things about this. Can't wait to read it. Well, I'm sure I'll like it. The last one I'm not quite so sure. I picked it up kind of on a whim. We'll see. It's called The Lost by Daniel Mendelsohn. This is it's more of a memoir. It's about a little boy who kind of grew up knowing about these 6 family members that were lost during the war, and he goes through and tries to find them. So it talks about that process. So it goes a little bit back into history, back and forth, but it's more of a memoir, and it's really little writing, and it's like 550 pages long. So I'm not sure. I haven't gotten rid of it because I'm still very interested in it. I'd love to get to know a little more of a real life account of what happened. I did also read Night by Elie Wiesel, which again is, you can't get more real life than that. If you haven't read that one, you got to. It's about this thick. Again, I don't know where the copy is, but that one was awesome too. So I'm sure I will enjoy it. I just haven't, I don't know, my motivation is not quite there right now for this specific one, but I'm definitely going to give it a whirl. So I think that's about it. Once I started compiling these books, I couldn't believe how many I actually had. So that was kind of interesting to see. I think if you would have asked me, I would have said, yeah, I love historical fiction, but I don't think I would have whittled it down to World War II and knowing I've read that many books. That said, again, very fascinated with that time in history. Let me know, is there a specific subject or a specific genre, or maybe one specific, like mine is World War II, that you have read a lot about, and give me a recommendation. I'm kind of getting into, I'd like to learn a little bit more about the Civil War, so I've got a few books about that, and as I read more, I'll give you some recommendations with that as well. So let me know if you've read any of these books, if you liked them, and then if what's your niche, what's the one subject you can't stop reading, let me know what that is as well. So like, comment, subscribe below, I appreciate it, and we will see you next time. Bye.